Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to pickleball improvement. This is Tony Roig. Hope you're having a great week this week. I am coming at you from the U.S. Open in Naples, Florida. This is my 8th year at the U.S. Open. It's a lot of fun every year. And what I wanted to do is, this is a special episode. Since we're at the Open, it'll be a little bit shorter than normal, and we'll only have one section in it, and there's a straight run through, so I think you'll enjoy it. What I wanted to talk to you about is some of the trials and tribulations that we all face as pickleball players, and specifically I'll address it in the context of tournament play, and myself and other players who I know and friends of mine, when we chat about the ups and downs of pickleball play in a tournament, because I think it's reflective of what happens in all play. Right, we all come out there to compete. I know that. And listen, I think it's a good perspective to have the idea that I just want to have fun out there. I want to have a good time. And I respect that, and I think that's it's a good aspiration. But the reality is that we play a sport that has a score, right? We go out there and we actually keep track of the score, and we play games, until you're done, whether it's 9, 7, 11, whatever you're playing till. And, so there's a component of our sport that involves competition. It involves scorekeeping, and it involves results, right? Winning and losing. And that's a part of our game that I think if we address it face on or head on, we'll be more productive in terms of how we think about it. And so I'll share with you what happened during yesterday. I played in the men's pro division. So on Wednesday, I played in the men's senior pro division, and we played 2 matches. We played our first match was actually, I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened so you can see how kind of we approach the game and think about the game. But I'm playing in the first game, and it was back and forth, and we ended up we were up 10-8. They sided us out. The opponent sided us out. We're playing John and Jeff, 2 very good players, and we got sided out at 10-8, so they're serving 8-10-1. We half-sided them out. Then it was 8-10-2. And there was a disputed call. There was I believe John hit a slam ball. He hit it really, really hard. I was standing on the baseline. I looked down. To me, it looked like the ball had landed out because of where I saw it strike as I was looking down, although it was hit very hard and it was going past me pretty fast. I looked at Eric, my partner. He believed also that it was out, and so I called it out. And our opponents, John and Jeff, who I know both of them well, and they lost their minds. They were like adamant that ball, hey, Tony, that ball was in, it was really in, and they were very adamant about it and very sure about their call. So I reversed my call, which I think was the right thing to do. The rules are that it is my call to make. But it is also my call to unmake should I choose to do that, which I chose to do in this case, given not only, their certainty and their position on the call, but my uncertainty and my partner's uncertainty. He thought it was out too, but he wasn't, dead set on it being out. He, looked out to him, but it wasn't absolutely, I saw it clearly out. So when we weighed everything, we decided to basically reverse our own call, which is part of what we can do, right? Just as we can make the original call. And so now it was 9-10-2. I can't remember exactly what happened after that. I know we ended up winning the game 13-11, right? So we battled back and forth, won the game 13-11. Great. Then second game, I don't think was a very good game by us. I'm still waiting to look at the video on it. I haven't had time to see the video on it. I'm curious to see how we played in game 2, but my recollection, it wasn't a particularly good game. The third game, we played a little bit better, but still were unsuccessful in that game, so we lost the match in 3 games. Now, I will tell you, in tournament play, a 3-game loss is a battle, right? It means you went out there and you battled, you took 1 game off your opponents, and you left a mark or were a hard out. And so what I'd suggest to you is when you're playing out there, it's something, I know you're not playing 2 out of 3 normally when you're playing in rec games, but think of maybe if you're in a game, and say you're down, 8-2 or something like that, consider still fighting, still buckling down, still trying to give your best, so that instead of walking off the court 11-2, you're walking off the court perhaps winning, but perhaps losing 11-7. It's much more fulfilling, much more rewarding to continue battling even when you're down, or even when you're in a situation that doesn't look favorable to you. But the other part that I wanted to transmit to you is that if you're playing at level, right, that means that you're playing with opponents who are around your level. They don't have to be exactly your level, but they're around your level. What that means is that you have a chance to lose. In other words, it's not like you're going to step out on the court and it's guaranteed you're going to win, or you're winning, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 times against those opponents. Because if you're doing that, then you're not really being challenged, right? You're not really being pushed. And when I look at myself and my partner Eric, and I look at John and Jeff, to me, that is a very nicely matched competition, right? We know in the sense of our levels and our abilities and our approaches to the game, how we play it. It's one of these matches that we could have won it or they could have won it. In this case, they won it. And it'd be like, flipping a coin and saying it's going to land heads every time. Well, obviously not. Sometimes it lands tails. So when you lose a match like that, having the perspective of understanding that if you're playing at level, you honor your opponents, right? Which we've talked about in other podcasts, but you honor your opponents. You look across the net and you say, John and Jeff are, they're valid, valuable human beings. They're entitled to win games just like you are entitled, just like me and my partner are entitled to win games. And so the fact that they won or came out on top in this situation does not remove anything from me or my partner in terms of our worth as players or our worth as human beings or anything else, in terms of feeling bad about ourselves. The second match of the day, we played a 15-pointer against Keith and Kirk. I had not met them before. They are from Michigan area, and we were, from a pickleball standpoint, we were playing better pickleball at the beginning of the match. It's a 1-15 in the back draw. We traded sides at, I think, 8-4. We were ahead. We ended up getting up to 11-4. So that's a pretty good lead. We're up by 7 points, although we still have 4 to finish, which is important. They did a great job of battling back. We had some very mistimed, unforced errors, the get past 4 kind of things if you're inside the system, where we basically, a couple of missed serves, some short returns of serve that allowed our opponents to attack us and things like that, but it's in a bad spot, and they were able to mount a comeback. So they ended up tying it up at 11. They went up to 12. We tied them at 12. We were not productive with our serve side on that situation. They got the serve. They were productive, and they were able to pull out the match 15-12. Obviously, I would prefer to have the 15 and not the 12. And all of us would prefer to have the 15 and not the 12. But just as with the prior match, when I look across the net at Keith and Kirk, I'm looking at 2 gentlemen, around the age of me and Eric, that are, they're pickleball players. They know their way around the court. They know how to hit balls. They know how to do their things. And when it came down to it, they execute it better than we execute it. And that's the beauty of this game, right? The team that executes better is going to, generally speaking, prevail in the battle, in the contest. And so if in that situation I make it about me and Eric, oh my God, we were up 11-4. How did we do that? What happened? I don't understand. What we end up doing is we end up denigrating or degrading, if you think about it, Keith and Kirk's effort, right? Keith and Kirk's work. And they did the work they needed to do in order to prevail in that game. Now, I can still walk away from the game saying, okay, these are areas that I can improve in my game. These are areas that I need to work on. There's nothing wrong with that, without taking away from Keith and Kirk's victory in that situation. And if we make it all about ourselves there, what we're doing is we are taking it away. We're reducing the value of their work. And flip it around for a second. Think of those times where you've had the big comeback. You've been down, you've battled back, you've hunkered down and done the work. Imagine your opponent's looking across the net and going, no, you know what? I messed up. It wasn't you, it was me that did it. That would not feel good. So flip it around and think about think about it from their perspective and what they accomplished and the excitement that they had. And they were excited about it. Their fans were there. They were hooting and hollering and they were having a good time. That's great. That they had that victory, that comeback victory. And try not to make it about yourself, and honor your opponents. It's a really valuable way of thinking about the game and gaining better perspective when you're out on the court. If you want to know more about this concept of honoring the game and things like that, there's a book I can't recommend highly enough. It's written by our good friend Peter Scales. It's a longer title, but the subtitle is really what carries it: Compete, Learn, Honor. You don't have to worry about linking to the book. If you go to wearepickleball.com/resources, there's a link there to the book. You can order the book from there, and Coach Scales is amazing in terms of perspective of the game, and it will really help you as you think through these situations and continue to grow as a pickleball player and as a person. So that is our podcast. It is late on Thursday night. I'm playing tomorrow in mixed senior pro doubles with my good friend and partner Leslie Bernard. It's going to be a lot of fun. Leslie is always a great competitor, and I love being on the court with her, smiling and just getting our best out on the pickleball court. So I'm going to finish up my hydration. I've already eaten what I need to eat for tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have a good day out on the pickleball courts tomorrow. And hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, as always, give us a rating and review it and share with your friends, because if you enjoyed the podcast, they probably will too. We'll be back next week with a regular podcast with the music and all that stuff and some messages for you in the middle. But in the meantime, have a great week.